Hello, welcome to Dazzliest, Learning the Language of Autism. Belle here, nice to see you. This week I'm going to be talking about the Interoception Sensory System, which was a new one on me before George came into my life, and I just kind of learnt about the five main, senses. And then a whole new world was opened up to me, and this was one of those kind of not very well known about, talked about senses that, what I've learned with autism is that everything is finely tuned, and it gets you to be able to look at your body's systems in a very intricate and magnified way. And the interoception system is a massive sensory system that deals with all major bodily functions, but most people, who never have to, have a condition, a sensory processing condition or interoception challenges, would never need to even know what this was. Which is quite incredible, really, when you think about it's our bodies doing what our amazing bodies do. So we're going to look at the interoception sensory system today. Before we start, I'm going to read a definition that I found on the internet, which is like a professional definition, and it says, interoception, the perception of sensations to internal organ function, such as heartbeat, defined as the sense of the internal state of the body, both conscious and non-conscious. Respiration and safety and the autonomic nervous system, which is also related to emotions. So it's huge. It's what tells us when we're hungry, when we're full, when we need to use the toilet, when we need, when we need a wee, whether we're thirsty, whether we're quenched, whether we're hot or cold, like your body temperature, and what to do about it. And when something is hot or cold on the outside, as well as your body functions on the inside, whether pressure on the body, so whether that's internal stuff going on within your own body system, so like your heart beating fast or slowing down, or your pulse or indigestion, all your kind of like digestive system stuff, and also pain. So if your body is hurting on the inside, if there's something wrong going on inside, or whether you have cut yourself or bashed yourself or broken a bone or fractured a bone, it affects all of those things. And of course there's emotions attached to that, to know whether or not you feel sad or happy, and where to put them, when to laugh, when to cry. For those of us that don't have these issues or these concerns, it can sort of sound like, what do you mean when to know when to cry or when to laugh? But when you do have this going on in your own system, it can muck everything up, it can shuffle everything around, and it can confuse, things can be confused, and you kind of have to consciously train your body to do these functions that in some people it just automatically does itself. That's my interpretation. So because it is such a massive subject, today I'm just going to talk about hunger, feeling hungry and not feeling hungry, and also toileting needs. I'm just going to focus on those two things today, and then next video we'll talk about some other stuff, just to try and keep it to a manageable thing. So before I start, I just also want to say, like I always do, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a medical professional. I am looking at this purely from a interoception sense challenge. So there are many other reasons why children and people who are autistic will not eat, cannot eat or drink, or cannot go to the toilet or urinate. There's loads of other reasons that could be medical and all of that. I am here to obviously say, if you feel your child or person who's autistic that you care for or live with has any of these issues, to obviously get them checked out medically first, you know. But I'm purely coming at it from the stance that let's just say it's a given that it is the interoception sensory system that is causing these issues and not any other health issue. Okay, I just wanted to put that out there. So, toileting needs. Obviously, if you don't know if you need the wee or to go to the toilet, but your body's going to do it anyway, because our bodies are really good at functioning automatically without us needing to tell them to do it. So if you know, when we're babies and we're really young, our interoception system is kind of like we're not consciously aware of the little messages that we get that go, oh God, I need a wee, oh God, I'm starving, oh I'm full. We don't have those for toileting when we're babies. We don't think. So we just poo and wee whenever we need without a care in the world. And obviously as we grow older, we're taught to recognise what those feelings are, and we are taught that by our people around us that teach us toileting and whatnot, and then we just gradually learn it on our own quite quickly, really, the average kid. So many children who are autistic, not all, can have problems and challenges within toileting. It can take them a little bit longer to toilet train, and there are many, many reasons for that. But because we're talking about interoception sensory system today, what happens is that part of your body that says, I need a wee, and you go, Mum, Dad, or can I go to use the toilet please? That doesn't come. So it's just, you just wee. And then it can be a really awful surprise to the person that it's happening to when they suddenly feel, because their clothes are wet or whatever, or they've toileted in public, and that's the first they know of it. That's the first they know that they needed to go to the toilet. So you can imagine it can cause all kinds of anxiety issues and worries for that person, because if it continues into as they get older, then, you know, and they're going to worry about going out. They're going to worry about being invited into public places because they're not going to know when they need to use the loo. Suddenly, going outside into the world can become quite distressing and challenging just from this one issue, toileting needs. So it could be that it will come in time, just not when children are expected to toilet train. You know, sort of averagely around the ages of 2. In our culture, it's deemed as okay to start toilet training your children. For me personally, that's, you start toilet training your children when they show signs that they're beginning to get ready. I don't do the whole, they're 2, right, let's do this, right, they're 2.5, let's do this. I say go with your flow of your child. But often with autistic children or children with sensory needs, asking them to start training to use the potty or the toilet and taking off nappies can come way later. It can come at 2, 3, 4, 5 years later, sometimes more, sometimes never, and sometimes it's because of this issue. So you may need to just start toilet training when they're older, so that they're experience of their own body is longer. It takes longer for them to, if there are interoception issues, it may take them longer to recognize and feel those feelings in the body that says, I need a wee, I need to use the loo. So it could be that that's all that needs to happen, and by the time they're 4 or 5 or 6 or 7, then they'll have enough experience of their own body system to recognise and understand the processes of toilet training. But it may always be an issue. You know, there are many autistic adults who always use adult nappies, and they are okay with that. Thank God we've got those in, you know, that are available that we can use, so that people that do have this challenge can still go out and about and enjoy their lives without, you know, fear of ridicule and embarrassment and all the rest of it. What can help also, from what I've learned around other people that have this issue, is occupational health are a really good source of support for all sensory needs, really. Occupational health are the ones to go to, from what I've learned and from my own personal experiences with my son. They are genuinely amazing, and they can really help through lots of lovely, fun, physical activities to help a person become really in tune with their own body systems, which can help with the toileting stuff. A lot of patience and a lot of understanding, and just learning about such a thing as Interoception Sensory System. Many of us do not know anything about it. Many of us wouldn't even know to look it up. So I hope that this video, you know, if you do have an autistic child or you care for an autistic person in your life, one way or the other, if there is a toileting issue still, however old they are and whatever stages they're in, then it might be worth, you know, now that you've seen this video and I've kind of like given you some awareness to it, I by no means go into it in full medical detail because I'm not knowledgeable enough in that. But what I do is I give you like a go-to, and you can kind of go off and research it yourself further, and then you can have conversations with occupational health therapists and start the ball rolling and see if you can start sort of supporting your child or your person that's autistic or that has this need in a much more holistic and beneficial way. Also, what's really helpful, which I say every single video because it's true, is speak with other autistic people. Speak with other people who have this particular issue. Not all autistic people do, you know, don't assume, oh, you're autistic, I'm going to talk to you about this. You know, what I mean is that seek them out, ask questions on autistic run Facebook groups and forums and support groups. There's many. And you know, ask questions and see what they did that can help them, and it will give you a ballpark. It will give you, to save one, you'll know that your child isn't the only child that this condition is happening with, which helps. Also, you know, you can get to talk about it with other people that have already lived through it and are living a, you know, happy, balanced life. Even if they always still have to wear nappies or diapers or whatever, it still shows you that it's, you know, it's okay. Like, it's okay. It can be managed and it can work. It may also be that with this function, it may be that your child can recognise when they need a wee, but they can't seem to recognise when they need a poo, or the other way around. And, you know, again, if you're completely oblivious and you do not know that this exists, and you're there working away, doing everything that the, you know, professionals and friends and family members tell you to do when you're toilet training your child, and none of it seems to be working, or they're grasping the wee thing but not the poo thing, or the other way around. It can get really frustrating and confusing. But once you know, oh wow, it could be because they've got an interoception sensory issue, then it helps you to, you're not going to keep on banging away at something that's just your child can't, it's physically impossible for them to be able to grasp. It's gold knowledge, really. I think that if the more we learn as carers, parents, loved ones of autistic people, autistic children, autistic communities, to research and find out about the sensory needs, because most people have sensory issues one way or the other, and especially if you're autistic and you're incredibly sensitive to your environment, it's really important, I think. So the other one that I'm talking about today is feeling hungry and thirsty. So you may have a kid or a person that can just quite happily go all day. They won't eat. They won't just come up to you and say, I need to eat, or look for food. They'll just go without eating all day long. They just do not feel hungry. Or it could be that they just eat and 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 never seem to get full up, or seem to look like they're full. There could be other reasons for that. It could be a mouth sensory need, which I've done other videos on, the taste and mouth sensitivities, which I'll link up and put links to. It could be that they have sensory needs around actual food itself, colours, smells, textures, that kind of thing. And I've also done videos on food and the senses. So there's so much information to research and look at, and many reasons why. But from an interoception perspective, not eating all day, and it seems like, well, they're just not hungry. It looks on the outside that, oh, well, what's the problem? That's okay. But obviously we need to eat to survive, and we need to eat to be healthy. And other symptoms can happen, like they could start fainting, they could be nauseous, they could get headaches, they could be lethargic, they could be irrational, there could be irritated, they could be sort of manic, and when you get hungry you get a bit oof. There's so many other behaviourals that can happen if you're not eating on a regular basis. So even if you don't feel hungry, it's obviously important to be able to eat. So it's a really important one to research and find out about. And then if that is the case and your child does not know when they are hungry, then it is up to the parent or the carer to work with them closely and remind them of when to eat, and manage. And when I say manage, I mean support them in the amount of the portion sizes, what they're eating, when they're eating it, and really do your best to make sure that they're eating a good amount. And the best way to know that obviously is to see whether they're putting on weight, whether they're maintaining weight, what their behaviours are like, whether they're sleeping well, whether they're going to the toilet okay. There's loads of ways to indicate, to show you that what they're eating is enough, if they can't tell you when they're full or not. So the same goes with needing to eat and eat and eat because they don't know when they're full up. I've seen this a lot. I've seen this a lot with loads of kids over the years, and they can eat and eat and eat and eat and eat. Nothing nicer than seeing people eat well, right? Especially children. And then all of a sudden they get to that point where they're like, oh, or they want to be sick, or they are sick, or they get stomach problems, indigestion problems. They feel bloated, they're very sleepy and lethargic. Then, there could be other health issues where they start eating too much sugar or too much of this or that. It can cause all kinds of other issues as well if they just keep eating and they just keep eating. And it's like easy to go, oh, maybe they've got worms, or oh, maybe they're this, or maybe they're that. check out this interoception sensory issue. It could be that. So again, it's about monitoring what they eat, checking their weight, making sure that they're thriving in every way, hair, teeth, you know, are they sleeping well? Are they focused? Are they irritable? Are they balanced? You know, so many other things that can tell you when you're eating too much or not enough. Same with drinking. So my son used to need to be given a cue to drink. He could go all day without drinking anything, even though he's really into water, and water's like his favourite element to play in and be in and to, you know, be with. Actually drinking it as a drink, as opposed to just drinking the river or the lake or whatever. Actual drink, he'd never think to do unless he was cued to do it. Now he's 15, he's beginning to, off his own back, pick up a cup and drink. And that is an example of, it will happen, but it's taken him up until the age of 15 to start to actually, I'll just see him go over and just get a drink and start drinking, and I'm like, yes, he's beginning to feel when his body needs drink and when he feels thirsty, as opposed to just not knowing and waiting for someone to tell him. Another idea is to, rather than, if eating is the issue, whether it's overeating or undereating, another way to sort of help maintain a fluid amount of food in the body so that they're thriving and growing healthily is to maybe get rid of the big meals and let them graze all day, as an idea. It's just an idea. You know, obviously, whether that can work in your lifestyle or with your children is another matter, but it's like sometimes we have to throw all the rules, the traditional rules, out the window and say, well, my kid's different, and sitting down 3 meals a day at the table, everyone there, isn't going to work for us. But what will work is that if I give my child food to graze on, so they'd have like grazing food all day. I mean, I know adults that have this issue or aren't autistic and they just like grazing all day. We're all different, right? So if your child is one of those children who eats and eats and eats and eats and eats and eats and eats because they never tell when they're full up, and you know that, and they can't help it, then we find foods that are low in fat, low in sugar, so that they can eat quite a lot during the day or constantly throughout the day, but they're not eating great big portions of food so that they're not going to get other health issues. Same with the drinking. You know, you can find fun and inventive ways to help your child drink more and more and more, even if it ends up just becoming part of a routine that they drink. And it's not because they can connect in with their body and know when they're thirsty. In the end, it will just become like a routine thing. Or when I do this, I then have a big drink. Or when I do this, I have some sips of this. And when I do this, I have another drink. So it just becomes part of their daily routine, as instead of them going, oh, Mum, Dad, can I have a drink, please? I'm really thirsty. I need a drink. If that isn't going to happen, then turn it into something that's just what they do as part of a routine. And that's what I did with George. And he would constantly need cues. And like I say, now he's at a point where he's beginning to drink off his own back and recognise, because he's had 15 years of experience in his own body and understanding how it feels when he hasn't drunk. And then he's put the 2 and 2 together. It's something's happened in his system that has said, And again, that may never happen, but it may happen later. Sometimes these sensory systems just take longer for them to become aware of, because there's so much other sensory stuff and so much other stuff going on for our sensitive autistic children, that all these individual sensory things can take a little bit longer to process and understand and figure out. So I've also done a video on drinking water or other drinks for autistic children. Ages ago I did a video on how to help your children drink. So it might be worth looking at that, because there's ideas all over the place, which can all kind of lead to the same thing, which is we need to eat and we need to drink to be healthy and to be strong and to thrive. So there are ways around all of these sensory needs, as long as we know what they are, as long as we research them, speak to other professionals that know a lot more about it, as in the occupational health therapists. You know, do your own research, speak to other people that have these conditions and have experienced this as they've grown through their life, and they will help you and give you so much support, which will minimise your concerns and your worries. So I hope that's been of use. Like I say, it's a lot of information. So next week I'm going to be talking about the emotional side of things and how it can affect somebody emotionally, and what some of those behaviours could look like. Well, might not be next week actually. I've also decided in my own well-being that me doing a video a week is actually quite a lot of work for me, and I've got other things I'm going to be doing now as well, which is very exciting. So I might just be doing one video a month, and I'm going to see how that feels. So this one will go out, which is why it's a little bit longer. And I don't know if any of you are aware, but if you aren't, then there is a little button where you can actually slow my voice down, or you can speed it up a little bit so that you can watch it in a little bit more of a quick time. Or of course you can watch my videos in 2 parts or bits at a time if they're too long. Please do, contact me with all the information in the description box below. If you need to speak to me, comment on anything, any ideas, any experiences. I really would love to hear from you. You can catch me on Facebook, on Twitter, Instagram, all those places. Many ways to contact me, my email address, all of that. And of course, it would be really useful for you to subscribe by clicking on the button below and ringing the little bell, and then you'll just know when my new videos are coming out, especially if they're going to be once a month. You'll just get an alert as to when the next one's coming out. Okay, but thank you very much. I hope they're of use, and please do let me know what you're thinking. Okay, thank you very much, and I'll see you soon. Have a great month. Bye for now.